From the woman who dismantled Thanos with one hand, to a machine that bit a galaxy and shattered the boundaries of reality itself, the MCU has a power problem, and most people have no idea how far it actually goes. Today, we're ranking every overpowered MCU character, every insane feat, every moment that broke the internet, and explaining exactly why they're built differently. Franklin Richards. Franklin Richards is one of the most busted babies in all of fiction. Take the 1996 Onslaught event, for example. Onslaught was born of the darkest parts of Professor X's and Magneto's minds merging into a single entity. He possessed the combined mutant powers of the world's greatest telepath and the master of magnetism, making him an almost unstoppable god-level threat. The X-Men, the Avengers, and the Fantastic Four were basically on the verge of being completely wiped out by a psychic monster. The entire world thought Captain America, Iron Man, and the Fantastic Four were dead. Franklin, who was just a child panicking over losing his family, subconsciously created an entirely new, fully functioning pocket universe to stash them in so they wouldn't die, which actually caused Ashima the Listener, a Celestial, to intervene in person. And he didn't just teleport them into an empty void, he created a complete counter-Earth. He built a reality with a functioning society, fake historical backgrounds, and altered memories for everyone inside it. The heroes just woke up and continued living their lives, completely unaware that a grieving kid had manufactured their entire universe that they don't even recognize. But if you want to see what he looks like when he actually throws hands, you have to look at Jonathan Hickman's Fantastic Four run, specifically issue 604. We get to see an adult version of Franklin travel back in time, and get this, he fights against 3 mad Celestials. These are ancient space gods that usually require entire rosters of heroes just to stall. Franklin, he doesn't stall. He basically catches a concentrated cosmic blast in his bare hands and shatters celestial armor. During that same fight, Galactus gets defeated, and Franklin literally resurrects him. He completely flips the cosmic food chain by dropping the line, "To me, my Galactus," effectively commanding the Devourer of Worlds to be his herald. He turned one of the most feared villains in Marvel history into his personal summon. Okay, to be honest, this was one of the coolest moments in Marvel. I mean, a grown Franklin controlling Galactus versus 3 Celestials? Sign me up! Honestly, there's a lot you can pick from his resume. It could be its own video, actually. But right now, I want to talk about 2015's Secret Wars, when the entire Marvel Universe was destroyed. And how did they fix it? Reed Richards just had Franklin sit down and imagine new universes into existence. One by one, pieces of the Molecule Man's power. He is less of a superhuman and more of a walking reset button, honestly. If you're wondering why Doom was specifically there to see Franklin in the post-credit scene, now you know. Every time he's there, the power scaling goes way beyond normal. You know, as if bringing his literal mother back to life wasn't enough proof of that. Molecule Man. Honestly, his name is pretty accurate. Owen Reese, aka Molecule Man, has absolute control over every molecule in existence, and it's way more broken than it sounds, even by Marvel standards. He's fully an Avengers-level threat and has fought them many times, plus some pretty powerful extras. In Avengers issue 215, Owen goes up against a heavy-hitting roster that includes Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, and the Silver Surfer. Instead of getting into a massive drawn-out fistfight, Owen just waves his hand and simultaneously deconstructs Captain America's vibranium shield, Thor's enchanted Uru hammer Mjolnir, Iron Man's armor, and the Silver Surfer's cosmic board. He just breaks them down at the molecular level like they're a set of Legos. Then, later on, he casually pieces them all back together just to prove a point. When you can effortlessly snap the strongest metals and magical artifacts in the Marvel Universe with a passing thought, hand-to-hand is basically just a joke to you. But again, that's an average flex for Molecule Man. He's even fought Sentry during the Dark Avengers run, and the Sentry is basically Marvel's unstable version of Superman, a guy fueled by the power of a million exploding suns who rips gods in half. He causes immense pain to Sentry simply by using his powers, and the whole time, Sentry's just begging him to stop. He literally just turns the Sentry into a puddle of liquid on the ground. He didn't overpower him with a punch, he just reorganized the molecules of his body into soup. But again, I gotta bring up Secret Wars. I don't want to draw too much from one comic, but it's genuinely one of the most insane Marvel stories. Anyway, it's revealed that the Beyonders, a race of omnipotent beings from outside of reality, created an Owen Reese in every single universe. But they didn't just give him powers, they engineered him to be a living, breathing multiversal detonator. Their plan was completely psychotic. They wanted to see what would happen if they destroyed the entire multiverse all at once, and their method was to simultaneously kill every molecule man across every reality. You see, if Owen dies, his universe goes with him. When the main universe version of Owen figured this out, he teamed up with Doctor Doom. Their solution was to travel across the multiverse and systematically assassinate their alternate selves early. They were intentionally blowing up universes just to throw off the Beyonders' synchronized explosion. Owen eventually becomes the literal battery that powers God Emperor Doom. Doom uses Owen's raw power to single-handedly kill the Beyonders and hold the crumbling remnants of reality together. The Beyonder.
Who are you? I am from beyond.
Yeah, speaking of these guys, let's talk about them in vivid detail. You think Owen Reese is broken? Please, meet the cosmic egomaniacs who gave him his powers. We're specifically talking about the pre-retcon Beyonder from the original 1980s Secret Wars. Marvel has tried to nerf him over the years because his original power level was genuinely too ridiculous to write stories around. To put his scale into perspective, the comics explain that the entire Marvel multiverse, every timeline, every dimension, every god, is essentially just a single drop of water, and the Beyonder's realm is the rest of the ocean. In the very first issue of the 1984 Secret Wars, he basically creates a massive free-for-all between heroes because, well, why not? To make an arena, he just casually deletes an entire galaxy to clear some room, and then rips chunks out of hundreds of different planets to piece together his own custom battleground called Battleworld.
Did you think you could leave? Battleworld is my realm!
Oh, and there was this time that he ripped the Hulk in two.
Promised you that if you came at me again, I would rip you in two. I keep my word.
And the time he offered Tony immortality, like it was a cold beer he just cracked open.
This orb will allow your cells to regenerate indefinitely. Immortality.
But those are all just distractions.
What are they up to?
Let's talk about what's really important. A cosmic god has his very own Scooty. That's right, you heard it here first. But his most insane feats happen when he comes to Earth in Secret Wars 2. He takes on a human form just to walk around and experience life, and he treats the laws of physics like suggestions. In issue 6, he decides that the concept of mortality is depressing, so he just summons death itself. You know, the same cosmic entity Thanos is simping for, and casually deletes her with a cup of wine. So basically, in that cup, Beyonder put in a lot of his power. Like a lot. Enough to completely kill Death. However, that works as soon as she drank it. And do not ask me how this works, really. Because of that one move, nothing in the entire universe could die anymore. He literally had to be convinced by the Molecule Man to bring her back because the universe was falling apart without her. But how does he stack up against other cosmic top dogs? Well, take a look at one of his best fights. A literal army of cosmic gods, including big names like Mephisto, Eternity, the one from Love and Thunder, and the Celestials gang up against him. They throw everything they have at him, and he just stands there completely unbothered and brushes them off like they're nothing. That's the Beyonder, the cosmic wildcard whose superpower is doing whatever the hell he wants. The Living Tribunal. This guy is like the top 2 in all of Marvel. Seriously, the only one stronger than him is a guy literally called the One Above All, and we'll get to him in a minute. He is the ultimate cosmic judge. He doesn't have a secret identity or a tragic backstory. He is a golden three-faced giant who exists to keep the entire multiverse in balance. When he shows up in a comic, it means a situation has become so dangerous that the fundamental laws of reality are at risk. Remember how the Infinity Stones were literally the center of 3 Avengers movies and dozens of comics? Well, in the original Infinity Gauntlet storyline, Adam Warlock ended up with the gems. The other cosmic gods were terrified that Warlock would snap again, and so the Living Tribunal stepped in. He didn't even fight the guy. Ironically, he just snapped his fingers and made a new universal law. If used together as a joint set, the Infinity Stones don't work anymore. He didn't do a single thing besides that, and the 6 most powerful artifacts in the universe were effectively useless after he did it. If you want to see what happens when he actually has to pass judgment on a threat, look at the villain Protégé in Guardians of the Galaxy issue 48. You see, Protégé has the ability to copy the powers of any cosmic being he saw, and he actually managed to copy the power of a bunch of them, including the Living Tribunal itself. Instead of a typical fistfight, though, the Living Tribunal manifested across every single timeline and reality simultaneously to surround him. He essentially declared that Protege's existence was a cosmic imperfection, and he blinked him out of reality, trapping him in an eternal hourglass. He doesn't struggle with enemies, he just deletes them from the timeline. His power is also reflected in his three faces, which represent equity, vengeance, and necessity. He can't even act unless all three faces agree on a verdict, but when they do, his word is final. He has the authority to nullify any power or entity he deems unbalanced, whether it's a star-consuming god like Galactus or the literal embodiment of time like eternity. Everyone in the cosmic hierarchy answers to him. He doesn't need to throw a punch when he can simply erase the logic that allows his opponent to exist in the first place. The one above all. At the absolute top of the food chain, we have the one above all. And what makes him stand out? This is the literal god of the Marvel multiverse. Every universe, every timeline, every character we have talked about so far exists only because he allows it. He is the source of all life and creation. And in the comics, his power is basically the fact that he is the one writing the story. One of his most famous appearances happens in Fantastic Four number 511. The team has actually traveled to heaven to retrieve the soul of a fallen Ben Grimm. When they get to the center of all creation, they don't find a giant golden throne or a scary monster. Instead, they find an old man in a small art studio who looks exactly like Jack Kirby, one of the real-world creators of Marvel. He isn't there to fight them, he's there to draw them. He literally takes a phone call from his editor while talking to the team. But if you want to see his power reflected through other characters, just look at how the Living Tribunal reacts to him. Remember, the Tribunal is a being that can shut down the Infinity Gauntlet with a snap. Yet the Tribunal treats the one above all with absolute terrifying reverence. There is a moment where the Tribunal explains that he is merely a servant to a higher power, and that all of his multiversal judgments are subject to the approval of this one supreme being. But honestly, my favorite one above all moment has nothing to do with him being overpowered. It comes from him being kind. During Sensational Spider-Man, the whole Back in Black era, Peter is at his lowest point, and he's struggling to go on. So the one above all appears to him as a homeless man. He shows him visions of every single life Peter has saved, reminding him of how important Spider-Man really is. He doesn't do stuff like anyone else on this list. He'll never tank a massive blast or blink a cosmic threat out of existence. He just holds the pen, and every single story in Marvel is his work. Infinity Ultron. So we're all clear on the fact that if Ultron went, it was lights out for Earth, right? Well, this what if asks what would happen if Ultron not only won, but got his hands on the Infinity Stones too. Also, can we just talk about how he sliced Thanos in half? Like with zero effort? Anyway, what's the answer? A multiversal extinction event. The moment Ultron gains all the Infinity Stones, he doesn't just snap away half of life. He realizes that there is a Watcher observing him.
Beyond my own.
And he actually breaks the fourth wall of the multiverse to attack him. Think about that. He grew so powerful that he became aware of the space between universes. He and the Watcher have a fight that spans across different realities, where Ultron is literally tearing through the fabric of reality with every blow. Plus, it gets so much worse later on. He completely nukes Asgard, destroys several planets and galaxies, creates an entire army of Ultron bots using the Reality Stone. And let's not forget the fact that this dude bit an entire galaxy? Yeah, bit. Like it was a quarter pounder. In the end, he wasn't even beaten by strength. He was beaten by a literal computer virus. The heroes had to upload Arnim Zola's consciousness into his armor to shut him down from the inside, proving that in a fair fight, there isn't a single hero in the MCU who can touch him. Uatu the Watcher. Then you have this guy, the only one who was able to last in a one-on-one against Infinity Ultron. And his job? Observing the universe. But he's not afraid to throw hands if he has to. His most broken ability is his awareness. He is nigh omniscient, meaning he can see every possible outcome of every single choice across every timeline simultaneously. But when he finally went up against Infinity Ultron, we saw what cosmic durability really looks like. We already know that their fight shattered the boundaries of reality, but I don't think we got the full picture. They were punching through the ends of different universes and bursting into new ones. That's the whole glass shattering effect you're seeing. He's also just strangely good at fighting for a guy that's 4 feet and mostly just ahead, who also spends his whole day watching stuff. What makes him truly top of the food chain is his most recent evolution. In the finale of What If's Season 3, Uatu faced judgment from his own people, the Order of the Watchers. He didn't just accept his punishment, he reclaimed his identity, officially taking the name Uatu and leading a revolution against the cosmic hierarchy. He went from a silent observer to a being who can grant Watcher-level powers to other heroes, effectively becoming the active game master of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He didn't even step in for Thanos or Galactus, by the way, which just shows you how powerful this guy really is, and how powerful Ultron is because that's what he considers a threat worth intervening for. Wanda Maximoff. I feel like we talk about Wanda a lot these days, but you can't have a conversation about the strongest beings in the MCU without mentioning her. She's more like a glitch in the system than an actual superpowered human. And you can't talk about Wanda without bringing up the Darkhold, because according to it, Wanda is a living prophecy. She's a being of spontaneous secretion, which is a fancy way of saying she can play God if she wants to, and that's literally what she does. Her chaos magic allows her to literally reshape reality however she wants. While people like Strange spend years studying ancient books and moving their hands in perfect patterns, Wanda can have a mental breakdown and an entire town of people is now suddenly a sitcom set. She force-fed the people of Westview a new reality, literally breathing life into people and things that didn't exist 5 minutes prior. Plus, she created a new family from scratch, complete with kids that she never even had. And then you have her actual fight record, which is just as stacked. This woman single-handedly nearly killed Thanos in Endgame, held him back with one hand while destroying an Infinity Stone with the other, laid siege to Kamar-Taj and won, soloed the entire Illuminati, and destroyed Mount Wundagore all on her own. That's genuinely an insane track record, and it's one of the most complete fighting resumes we've seen throughout the franchise. Also, the way she does things is just so brutal. Snapping Charles's neck? Erasing Black Bolt's mouth so his blast explodes inside his head? That's 3 points for creativity alone. What I find really interesting is that chaos magic seems to exude CMBR radiation, which is a form of energy from the time of the Big Bang, and that's some pretty heavy foreshadowing. Eternity. You know, so far we've seen Asgardian gods, Eternals, Norse gods, and even Celestials, so we're pretty deep into the Marvel pantheon. But Eternity was the first time we saw an actual cosmic entity. Eternity is exactly what it sounds like. It's one of the core functions of the universe, except it's also a sentient being. You see, in the comics, Eternity and Infinity are only 2 steps away from the one above all, with the only beings above them being the Beyonders and the Living Tribunal. Even abstract concepts like death, hate, love, eon, and order aren't above Eternity. And you can't just forget about the Celestials and Galactus. They don't come anywhere close. One of Eternity's most simple powers was bringing someone back from the dead, which is like the equivalent of swatting a fly for a being like that. Unfortunately, we never got a look at what Eternity can really do, but it's not power in the traditional sense. You won't see big energy blasts or god-tier martial arts. These beings work on a whole other level. Whatever they do affects the foundations of the reality they're in, and now that Eternity has been introduced, it might be a sign that the MCU is finally stepping into the upper ranks of the Marvel cosmos.